All right, welcome to First Tuesdays. We have our facilitators today. Jennifer is not joining us, but we do have Carolyn Peterson here today. And for technical support, no Joe, but there is myself, Jeremy Stroud. Again, jeremy.stroud@sos.wa.gov if you have any support needs. This is brought to you by the Office of the Secretary of State, Washington State Library, and we are partially funded by the Institute Museum and Library Services LSTA funding. Now, before we begin, for tracking purposes, we would like everyone to please type in your name, your library organization, and if you have multiple individuals attending the session at your desk, please go ahead and let us know how many folks are there. I'll just give you a couple of moments to type that in, and then I will pass it off.
Yeah, we really appreciate this. The Office of Financial Management asks us to keep track of this, and it's always fun for us to welcome people who have attended our programs again, and then also to see where folks are from all over the nation, because we frequently have people from a variety of places, and we are always interested in seeing where they come from. So we are excited about that. We're seeing, I see Beth from Bellingham. We have somebody from Kansas, another person from Kansas, Flower Mound Public Library. That's an interesting place. I'll have to look that up. Another Southwest Kansas, Sioux City, Iowa. Someone from Renton Technical College. That's great. Crestwood, Kentucky. Wonderful. Welcome. Texas. Oh, King County. Great. Library of Virginia. Wonderful. So it is wonderful that you've all joined us, and we really appreciate that. So I think I don't see anyone else still typing. So
I apologize, I forgot. Jessica, were you going to load your slides up? We haven't done that yet.
Okay.
Oh, you haven't done?
Or send them to me and I can do it. Either one.
Oh,
okay.
It will take a really long time because I thought it was from the previous time.
No, sorry, they don't save.
Okay.
I apologize if that was miscommunicated there.
Okay, well, while she's sending that to Jeremy, I am going to, that was our presenter, Jessica Meadows, and she is the curriculum coordinator for GCF LearnFree.org. And Jessica Meadows manages the overall production of all learning and multimedia content. And she also oversees all marketing and public relations efforts. Jessica holds an undergraduate degree in art history and a graduate degree in education and a certificate in nonprofit administration from Duke University. She's held jobs in the classroom, the newsroom, and in other world of nonprofits. And while your slides are loading, Jessica, why don't you share what some of those nonprofits were?
I've actually worked with an art history degree. I worked in a museum, an arts council, and then obviously now for GCF Learn Free. I can go ahead. It is actually going to take a really long time for I'm so sorry, guys, that I misunderstood that I needed to reload it, but we'll go ahead and get started even if there's nothing on the screen. As Carolyn said, thank you very much for introducing me, Carolyn. My name is Jessica Meadows. I have with me today Danielle Jackson, who will also just kind of be moderating any questions that you have. Feel free to ask at any point. There'll be times that we'll kind of just naturally stop throughout today's presentation, so we'll make sure that all of your questions are answered by the end of today's webinar. As Carolyn said, I am with GCFLearnFree.org, and that is an online education website that's actually funded by Goodwill Industries of Eastern North Carolina. And even though our stores here in Eastern North Carolina fund the website, obviously people from all around the country, all around the world use GCF Learn Free, and so it's what today's presentation is going to kind of entail. Is going into kind of a tour of GCF Learn Free. That'll be the bulk of it. But then at the end, we'll really be able to dig a little deeper into how different libraries have been able to use GCF Learn Free across the country, hopefully giving you some ideas yourself on how you may be able to use GCF Learn Free with your patrons. So just to get started, we'll kind of maybe ask a few questions, kind of what Jeremy was talking about earlier as far as those polling questions. If I could actually get for those of you that have actually heard of GCF Learn Free, if you could just click yes. see if we've got several people in the group that have at least heard of GCF Learn Free.
Lori, do you have a question? Or okay, meant to hit yes.
Okay, we've got a few people that have heard of it. Okay. And I guess you can actually click no if you have not heard of GCF Learn Free. So we can actually see if we've got people that, okay, good. So we've actually got some people that have never heard of GCF Learn Free. So that's great. Today, like I said, we were going to go.
If I can interrupt for just one moment. For
Sure.
those that are trying to find the polling button, it is right here. And you just hover over it. It should give you the choices. Sorry, Jessica, go right ahead.
No, thank you, Jeremy. As it's loading, I'm not actually able to use my cursor seemingly enough. So, but anyway, so thank you for participating in that question, guys. For those of you that have heard of GCF Learn Free today, my hope is that you'll still get something from this webinar today. We recently did a redesign of the website at the end of March, and so if you haven't visited us recently, then the website could look pretty drastically different to you. And we're always adding different content, and so there may be something new to you, even if you are a quite frequent user of GCF Learn Free. All right, I think we have a presentation. So we'll skip through some of this stuff here. All right. Jeremy, if you could create a poll that maybe had tech basics, kind of an A, B, C, D, E, for people to be able to let us know which skills. Okay. So this question is asking what skills are patrons seeking when people are coming in and have questions. Are they usually asking about just very basic computer help? Are they asking for very specific questions with Microsoft Office? Do they need help with their resume, or they're getting ready to try to look for a job online for the first time? Any of those kind of type things, so we can kind of get that feedback. So I think Jeremy's got it set up.
A reminder, there's only 5 options max, and you have 6 plus
I know.
here.
That's fine. Yeah, so nobody can say anything about math. If you do, include in the chat box if math is something that you do actually get questions about, or other. If there are things that you get a lot of questions about from patrons, then feel free to provide that in the chat box.
You do that by clicking on that 4th button and selecting either A, B, C, D. Just go ahead and go up to the top under the moderators, and that's where you can participate in the poll.
Okay, so that's great. We're getting some answers in. Good. So seeing a lot of people that have those questions, getting lots of questions for tech basics. That's totally understandable. A lot of career assistance, yeah, we would definitely see a lot of that with the recovering economy. We're still getting a lot of questions about how to maybe get a job or get a better job. And Virginia is A through D. I like that. All right. I asked that question because I want to make sure that as we go through today's webinar that I'm kind of being able to focus on the things that you need, and we can kind of skim over. If nobody's saying that they are getting questions about learning English or that they are not getting any questions for math, we can briefly go over that, but we won't dwell on it in today's webinar. All right, I'm going to skip that one. So this is not something that you need to answer right now, but it's something to just kind of have in your mind as we go through today's presentation about when you read the description of this webinar, what brought you here today, and what questions were you hoping to have answered. And so kind of formulate those questions in your head right now, and as we go through the presentation today, I want to make sure that when we reach the end, all of those answers all those questions have been answered, and if not, we want to make sure that you ask those and we make sure that we get those questions answered. Okay. So there's a really brief overview there of the content that we offer. We offer a variety of different learning styles, from video tutorials, interactives, written lessons, graphics, We make sure that we really try to serve people in all the different learning styles. We all know that people don't learn in the same way, and so we want to make sure that we're providing a variety of different ways. And then we're very proud of the fact that we have served 16 million people since our inception. So as I mentioned earlier, we did recently have a brand new redesign, and so if you have visited GCF Learn Free in the past but you haven't seen us lately, this may look completely different to you, but we want to make sure that you know that all the same content that you know and love is still there. It may just have been moved around slightly, and we'll make sure that you still know how to find everything. So let's dig in. You can see here, if you go to our All Topics page from the home page, right there at a brief glance, 92 of our tutorials. You can just browse and kind of click in, or if you know exactly what you're looking for, you can use the search box that's provided on every web page to immediately find exactly what you're looking for. Our technology program is by far our most popular, and many of you said that you're getting lots of questions about tech basics, and so we're going to kind of go over some of the different tutorials that we offer in our technology program. Our most popular is our Computer Basics tutorial. This is really going to be great for anyone that has never used a computer before. If they are really uncomfortable around the hardware, they're nervous about picking up the mouse, this is a great place to get someone started. If they come in and they are very even just apprehensive around the hardware, being able to familiarize them with what is a computer and here are the different parts of a computer so that they can gain that confidence and be at more ease around technology. Something that I really love about the new design is being able to dig right into a lesson. So you see here the Computer Basics self-paced tutorial. You have all of the lesson tiles. And now you're able to dig in right here, being able to click on which page of the lesson you're interested in going into. As I mentioned before, being able to provide people with a variety of different learning modalities, whether it's through video tutorials, through things like interactives, just written lessons, we make sure that we've got everyone covered in the way that they prefer to learn. One way that people really love to learn is through our video tutorials. Video tutorials are very popular, and again, in the new design, being able to click right on the video tutorial that's associated with the lesson, this little video icon, this comes up, you click on it, and then you're able to just watch the video without even going into the lesson. Another thing is that you can click on this icon right here, and then that will give you the ability to be able to see all of the videos associated with the entire tutorial and be able to just look at video tutorials if that's the way that you prefer to learn. All of our videos are YouTube embeds, and so I want to make sure that you all know that if YouTube is blocked at your library, that we do actually have an offline version. We want to make sure that we're getting you all the content that you want, all of your patrons want. So Danielle right now is going to type in my email address into the chat box. If YouTube is blocked where you are, if your internet is unreliable at best, if you're maybe in a rural area, if maybe you work with prisons, we know a lot of libraries that have kind of outreach prison programming, and we know that internet isn't available in prisons. If any of that is relevant to you, write down my email address, contact me today. We're going to make sure you get that offline version of the site so that you still have all of that access even without the internet. Okay, so we talked about this earlier. A lot of you said that you have lots of people that are coming in asking about tech basics kind of questions, computer basics. We also have a typing tutorial that's very, very popular that we just launched in August of 2013. We have a mouse tutorial for even those people that have never used a mouse. So all of those things are very popular and certainly could be used by anybody that have those patrons asking those questions. Does anybody have questions right now? I see Bobby has said that she uses it, or she or he, she has used GCF Learn Free, and that's great. All right, moving on. So after technology tutorials, our technology program, Microsoft Office is definitely our second most popular. And you'll see here that we offer tutorials. I'm gonna stop right here because we're kind of at a breaking point, and Virginia has a great question. Do patrons have to create a login? You beat me to it. I was getting ready to talk about it, but we'll talk about it right now. You do not have to create an account to access anything on GCF Learn Free. Everything is completely free, and all of our self-paced tutorials, you can immediately click on something, immediately start learning, viewing those video tutorials. The only thing that you have to create an account for is our Office online classes, and I'm going to talk about that right now, but that's the only time you ever need to create a login. Thank you, Virginia, for asking that question. So the Office self-paced tutorials, we'll talk about that first. We have it all the way from Office 2000 to Office 2013. Again, you see that the self-paced tutorials look very similar to the computer basic self-paced tutorials. Being able to, from this point, to just go right into where you're interested. If you want to just watch a video tutorial, or if you want to dig in deeper, if you have just a very quick question about how to get a header or change the page number on your page, this is a great way to answer those questions very quickly. But we also have online classes, and these are very popular. We have them available in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access, and this is the only thing, as I was talking to Virginia, this is the only thing on the site that actually does require an account. But we'll walk you through that account process, and you'll see that it's very easy. So to register for let me go back really quickly. The difference between the online classes and the self-paced classes is that the online classes are instructor supported. They are accredited by the International Association for Continuing Education and Training, which allows us to actually provide CEUs. And after you have submitted your 3 assignments and the instructors have corrected, or have marked them as correct rather, then you receive a certificate of completion. So this is really great for anybody that is maybe looking for a job. They want to be able to add skills to their resume, to be able to say that they've gotten a certificate in Excel and PowerPoint and Access, to be able to try to get a better job, then that's something that you might want to keep in mind for your patrons.
We had a couple questions come through. One from Beth Farley asking, are the tutorials for Mac and PC? And
actually, that's a great question, Beth, and we get that a lot. Unfortunately, our tutorials are actually only for Windows-based computers at this time. We know that Mac is obviously it's getting a larger part of the market, but currently the tutorials actually are only for the Windows operating system. And what we tell people oftentimes is that if you have access to your local library, that's usually where we point people. If they maybe have a Mac at home, maybe go to their local library and maybe they have a PC.
A couple other questions coming through. One from Debbie Crum with Renton Technical College, which Jessica can also answer. Can we embed your videos in our LMS with attribution of course?
Debbie, we actually do allow embedding of videos. We actually don't have a Creative Commons license, but embedding the video, adding links to a video is fine. What I would want you to do is, again, email me and Danielle's going to provide that email again. Just there's a quick application, and that's it. That's the only, and it's mostly just for our records more than anything else. So thank you, Debbie. That's a great question.
Another question from Lori, is there a cost for Office classes or certification? And Jessica was quickly explaining the certification, that there is a certificate of completion and a continuing education unit that each learner receives from completing a class, and all classes and all tutorials and everything on our site is free.
Thank you, Laurie. That's a great question. Yeah, people, it really is completely free. But thank you for asking. I'm going to dig into the online class program really quickly. If you have already created an account, if you've already created an account, it's just a matter of just logging in, and then you're able to go ahead and advance. If you have not created an account, the account creation process is very simple. You're just asking for a username, email, password, the country you live in, and now you have an account to be able to register for that online class. Click on the online class that you are interested in, and you may possibly see three different messages. You'll either see all slots currently full, and unfortunately that means that even when registration opens in registration opens every 2 hours, and when registration opens, most likely there will be no openings. The classes are free, and they're certainly of great benefit being able to have that CEU and that certificate of completion, and so they are often full, but don't get discouraged. Like I said, the registration opens every 2 hours. Typically the best time is 1 or 3 o'clock Eastern time. That's when our instructors have been able to mostly grade their roster of students for the day, and there's the most openings. So mark that down if your patrons are saying, well, the slots are always full. If they can try to get there at 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock Eastern, that's usually the best time. If you are able to see limited slots available, then that means that when registration opens, there should be availability. We do encourage you to be at your computer when registration opens. And you may see this. That means that registration is open right now, and you can immediately register.
There's another question from Darlene. The certification for CEU credits is free, but if they wanted to get Microsoft Office Specialist certification, they would have to pay for that. Correct. It's my understanding that they would, but that's not what our online class program offers. We do offer a certificate of completion and a continuing education unit toward their education, but it's not the official Microsoft Office Specialist certification. So thanks for that question. Hopefully that answers that for you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Certainly, we would encourage people to use the tutorials as preparation for their certification, for that certification, but obviously that's something that you would have to pay Microsoft for to go through that certification. I think Jeremy has a question.
Kind of an addendum there, at least for folks in the state of Washington. If you have not heard of the Microsoft IT Academy yet, the Washington State Library facilitates this with local libraries, and we offer free certification testing as well as free Microsoft courses through that too. So if you're interested, just type it in the chat, or type your email in the chat, and I'll send you some information on that as an aside. Sorry, not trying to hijack the conversation here, but I did want to mention that.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. At this point you have been able to register now, or registration is opened rather. This is the registration. Again, very quick, very brief information. You need to watch the entire orientation video, which completely describes the requirements, those assignments, how to submit an assignment, and deadlines and all of that, to make sure that everyone is clear on what's expected of them. And once you have watched the orientation video, you can immediately start your class that very moment. You take a pre-test, and then you start right there on your first lessons. You follow the orange arrow, which lets you know where you are currently in the class program. You're looking at all of your assignment deadlines and take note of those dates, of those times when those assignments are due. The assignments must be completed to 100% accuracy, and so you may, in this case, as we see with this particular student, they've submitted their assignment, but it came back as incomplete, and so the instructor has a few suggestions, a few things that they need to correct before being able to move on. If it ends up being a situation where you're not able to make those corrections before your deadline and you're dropped, don't worry. I know that's very frustrating, but there's no penalty for ever being dropped. You can immediately re-register for the class and start right back over again. You will have to start from the beginning again, but if you have already had assignments, you can just resubmit those assignments and hopefully pretty quickly get back to where you were before you were dropped. So that may be a frustrating experience for some of your patrons, but there's no penalty. We literally have had people say, it took me 8 times, but I finally finished, and I have my certificate of completion. They're so proud. They're so excited about it. They know that it was a challenge for them, but they kept on and they kept on, and they're always very complimentary of the instructors for motivating them and giving them that feedback of, good job, keep going. Once you have actually completed your class, you can access your certificates of completion in your account area. You click on the online class transcript button. You can get to your transcript. You've got your certificates here. You can even print off a complete package that describes the program to an employer, to a school, or any kind of organization that's requiring that you get CEUs, or that are requiring some kind of proof that you've been certified, that you've taken Microsoft Office training. And there's obviously an example of certificate of completion. So what questions, I know we've certainly stopped and asked a few questions while we went through that portion of the Microsoft Office program, but do you have any other questions about either our Office program or the online class program? Feel free to raise your hand or put it in chat. Okay, well, it doesn't look like anybody's writing anything, but if something occurs to you as we move on, if you have a question and you realize that you want to ask it, we'll make sure that you get all of your questions answered today. Really quickly, just going to kind of round out the rest of the technology program. As I said, we certainly have all of those basics, including things like Internet 101, Internet safety, recognizing that people that are new to computers are often very apprehensive. They've heard horror stories from their friends or on the news about how someone was scammed online, and so this is a really great tutorial to kind of ease their fears and let them know how to be safe on the Internet and what things they should make sure they're aware of. We have an Internet Safety for Kids tutorial, so this is obviously a slightly different kind of how to keep your children safe, maybe even something that you'd want to walk through with the kids so they're understanding what cyberbullying is, making sure that they understand online predators and all of those things that affect kids in a different way when they are online. This is something that's certainly a hot topic, especially even for libraries, is digital literacy, being able to get into those 21st century skills, being able to help patrons kind of really evaluate the information they're finding online and how do they know that it's true, how to read a web page. It's interesting that people, when they're new to the computer, new to the Internet, the way they read a web page is considerably different to anyone who has been on the Internet and has that experience. So that's a really helpful tutorial, again, for anybody that's pretty new to technology. Social media tutorials are very popular, with Facebook 101 being our most popular. We're constantly having to update because Facebook is always updating and changing. And inevitably, it seems like every time we launch a brand new rehaul of our Facebook 101, Facebook changes the next day. But we try very hard to make sure that this tutorial continues to be relevant and useful and up to date for anyone that may be coming in and having questions about social media. Specifically, is that something maybe that to think about? Are you getting patrons that have questions? Do they want to know how to create an email account? Do they want to know how to create a Facebook account? Or they have questions about Facebook privacy? Are those kind of questions that we're getting from patrons? I'm seeing a couple people writing. Go ahead and yeah, we got like yes, good. Lots of questions. Good, that's great. See, this is something that I like to think that instead of when you're working the reference desk or you have people that are coming in, instead of actually sitting down next to them and walking them step by step for creating an email account or creating a Facebook account, maybe now this is a resource that you can provide them and just get them started, point them in the direction of the self-paced tutorial, and then say, if you review this, this will give you all of your answers.
We have a couple questions coming in. One from Virginia, having older patrons, would they have to have the software on their home PC to be able to go through classes? And definitely they would need that, especially for the online classes. They would need the appropriate year or version of the software in order to complete the class. For reading tutorials, not necessarily. That would just require internet access. But in order to complete the class, that software would be required. And that's what Jessica was referencing earlier. We tell a lot of people to check out their local library to see if that might be something that might be available to them. And another question we had that maybe Jessica can help answer, do you know of any email that does not require a phone number or mobile phone number? And I'm just not sure that I do.
I don't know of one either. And yeah, I'm assuming, Beth, you're talking about kind of probably because the whole verification process. That is an excellent question, and I do not know. I have several people on staff that would know that answer. And if you want to privately email me, Beth, as Jeremy, how they right-click on my name?
That's to send you a private message. They can right-click on your name and send a private message or a private chat, I believe is what it says. Or Daniel.
Jessica?
I'm sorry, accidentally clicked on her mic. Sorry, Jessica, I didn't mean to turn that off.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So yeah, Beth, go ahead and just email me. I'll get that answer to you by the end of the day. I know that somebody on my curriculum team will have that answer for you. All right, great questions. Thank you so much, guys. So after technology and Microsoft Office, many of you said that you're getting lots of questions about work and career. You're getting those questions about how to write a resume or even how to search for a job. And so again, we have several different tutorials that you may find relevant for those patrons' questions. One thing that's great is specifically about our resume writing tutorial is that we actually have in our extras down here a gallery of sample resumes. That's always something that people, they just want to know, what does a resume kind of look like, or an example just to kind of get started. And so that's a great resource for people just to kind of get that example. And so feel free if people are coming in with these questions to point them in this direction. Interviewing skills, obviously that's always something that people are very nervous about, how to prepare, what should they do during the interview, and even following up, making sure that they're doing everything right. One interesting thing is that the way that people search for jobs is changing. So you might have people that had a job for 20 years and the last time they looked for a job, it was by opening up the paper and looking in the want ads, and now everything's online. So being able to help a patron find a job online or even use social media to create a LinkedIn account. Job hunting is completely changed, and so anyone that has kind of been out of the job search, if they haven't done it in the last 10 years, it's completely different. And so hopefully these tutorials will help them kind of in the new era of job searching. So several of you in the very beginning had said that, yes, you had patrons that were coming in and asking questions. Feel free to go back and look through our tutorials and see if any of those you think will be relevant for you. And I've got Debbie Crum actually, I think, is chiming in with Beth's question. There may be several options there for email that does not require a phone number. All right. The reading program with GCF Learn Free, not many of you people, I'm sorry, not many of the participants said that they were interested in reading, so we'll go over this really quickly, but just so that you're aware of the fact that we do offer a reading program. The focus of our reading program was for native English speakers that struggled with adult literacy. So this, like everything at GCF Learn Free, is created for adults. We certainly know of organizations of elementary schools that use our reading program, and that's fine if that's something that you have a population that you want to use our reading program with. I would just remind you that as it was created for adults, there are references to alcohol, to cigarettes, to things that are adult in nature, and so we just want to make sure that you would look at it first before sitting it in front of a 6-year-old. But you see here that we do have in our reading program a recently added grammar tutorial, grammar component that was based on learner feedback. People really wanted to know more about grammar, and so that's something that only just launched in the beginning of April. And so I encourage you to look at our grammar area if that's something that you're getting a lot of questions about. And we'll also talk about our ESL component very briefly again. So the reading program is very hands-on. It's meant to be highly interactive, and so most of the reading program is just reading activities. So whether it's like word fill-ins like this, or just having the text explorer where someone is reading along and you're following along the text. Word videos, we have 1,000 of the most frequently used words in the English language in short word videos, being able to see the visuals, see the word, hear the audio, really being able to practice those words over and over again. Sound match is kind of a fun little game activity. Blast off, we have our little Will astronaut here, and he's zooming around trying to find the word that matches the sentence. And so really trying to make something that can be adult literacy, something that's pretty seemingly dry, make it a little more fun, a little more interesting, and make it much more hands-on. We also have found that even though it was created for, like I said, native English speakers to practice adult literacy, we found that people that were trying to learn English were using our reading program. And so about 2 years ago, we actually tried to kind of create a portal for some of the most common languages that visit our site so that they can access the reading program through initially their own native language and then are slowly introduced into the reading program and have a very immersive experience. This is not a program that's going to teach someone the English from scratch, but if it's something that they already kind of have a basic understanding of some English principles, it's a great way for them to be able to practice English.
We had oh, never mind.
Oh, okay. Okay. The word videos. Okay, is Debbie's following along. If anything we talk about today, if you have difficulty at all finding it on the website, please feel free to contact me. We'll make sure that you're able to find everything that we've talked about today. Very quickly, we have a program called the Everyday Life program. Now, this is very different than really anything else we offer. This is meant to focus on functional life skills. This is the activities that you and I do every day that we take for granted that some people struggle with some of life's most simple skills. And so these are interactives meant to help someone practice in the safety and security of and privacy of their home, practice it over and over again, be able to gain that confidence. Maybe they get it wrong, but you know they're not embarrassing themselves in public by getting it wrong. To practice it over and over again until they get it, until they get that confidence, and now they feel confident enough to be able to go and replicate that skill, the thing that they've learned out in the real world. So maybe it's something like going to the bank and just asking for cash back, filling out a deposit slip. It could be even things like just following along a recipe and trying to understand how to measure things out. There's a really popular one that is how to use a microwave, one that's for how to use an ATM. So this is for patrons that are just struggling with that functional literacy. And this is something that we really like. It's really exciting. If that's a population that you work with at all, we certainly have seen it used in special education classes and with various organizations. We also have even seen it used with ESL, being able to kind of go through a process of something they're already familiar with, but being able to hear the English words associated with that. Yeah, exactly, Darlene. Great for folks coming out of prison. That's a huge population that we actually work with, and it's something that we often forget, that if they've been incarcerated for a number of years, the world that they're coming into is completely different. Technology is a large part of our everyday lives now, and so getting them reacquainted and associated with the technology that they're going to interact with once they're back out in the real world. That's something that we really enjoy. That's a population we really enjoy working with. Nobody said that they were interested in math, but I'll just quickly tell you that we do have a math program. It mostly focuses on math basics. We're getting ready right now as we speak. We're working on an algebra curriculum. We'll probably add a geometry tutorial as well. This is again for adults, so it does have some adult content, but it's fine. We certainly know people do use it for elementary grades. I would just again remind you to kind of look at it first before using it. Oh, that's great, Virginia. Yeah, we do, and I don't even talk about it here, but we do have a money tutorial, so that's great to be able to direct them for some budgeting. Math program is highly interactive. It's almost kind of like a math workbook, so as you're learning the concepts, you're able to practice along as the concepts are being explained. We also have kind of a funky good at math game. It focuses on addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. The idea is that there are zombies that are taking over the school, and you have to do math to squash the zombies. So that's available both on the desktop as well as on the iPad. That's appropriate for children, adults. It's fun. We had a lot of fun with that game. And that was kind of our first foray into gaming, so we kind of have a soft spot for that one in our hearts. Nobody said that they had any patrons that needed help with math, but again, reminding you that we are getting ready to offer algebra, hopefully soon geometry, so that may be something that your patrons would maybe have questions with moving forward, especially maybe if they're practicing for the GED or anything like that. Or as we actually find, a lot of people just can't figure out how they took the math so long ago that when their kids bring the homework back home, it's been so long since they've taken algebra or even gone through like percents and decimals and fractions that they kind of need a refresher. So feel free to point people in that direction if they're just helping their own kids with homework. Yeah, Debbie, algebra, that we get a lot of requests for GED prep, and so it's probably not something that we're ever going to do comprehensively because the GED test is pretty in-depth and it goes into science and social studies and things of that nature. But the hope is that people could come to our site to at least practice some of the things that they would need for the GED. And okay.
I was just going to say, Jenny has a question about iPads and different devices. Do the tutorials and lessons translate well to devices?
We actually have specific tutorials for the iPad, for iPhone, for Kindle, for Android. Our website is mobile compatible, and we do work to make sure that all of our content is working on the iPad, on the Kindle Fire. There's obviously some difficulty because some of our interactives are Flash-based, and so obviously we all know that Flash does not work on an iPad, but we are working on trying to port some of our Flash, especially some of our most popular Flash everyday life tutorials, to HTML5 so that it does work on iPad. And moving forward, we are only using HTML5. Our typing tutorial that we just launched in August is HTML5. And so moving forward, we want to make sure that it's going to work on all platforms, but you may be limited somewhat in anything that does come in Flash. But thank you, Jenny. Thank you for that question. Oh, thank you, Beth. Thank you. That's a great point. And thank you, Jenny, because you transitioned me right into the next part, which is mobile apps. We do have mobile apps. We have several tutorials that are essentially just our tutorials but put in app version. But we also have a quiz app. We have most recently a GCF projects app, which is a way for you to be able to manipulate YouTube videos, any YouTube videos, not just ours, and be able to kind of mix them and edit them and be able to put them in your own playlist, and that's kind of interesting. We've got the quiz app is for you to be able to create your own quizzes, kind of as like a study guide if you want to kind of quiz yourself to study. And the GCF answers, those for Microsoft Office, are across all versions of Microsoft Office, being able to ask a quick question and get a quick answer and then be able to move on with your life. So we're really excited about these three for Microsoft Office. And as I did mention, we do have for Android, iPhone, iPad, and Kindle Fire.
There was a question about a tutorial on Android basics. Jessica, did you want to?
That's a great question, Virginia. I think Danielle is actually writing a blog post tomorrow about Android basics. We do have an iPad and iPhone basics tutorial because it's easy, because it's not so segmented across different manufacturers, as we all know that the Android suffers from. We have it on our list. It's something that's certainly asked for by our learners to do an Android tutorial. We are working right now on the challenges of trying to present a tutorial that would work for that OS, even when everything is so segmented against the different manufacturers of the different phones. But that's a great question for you. We do have the iPad, the iPhone, and hopefully we will have the Android basics pretty soon. It's under devices if you're looking for it on the GCF site under Living in the Online World. Using devices is where those tutorials will live. It's a great question. Thank you. We have a blog that is a great place for us to be able to go a little bit deeper into some of those questions that we don't cover in our tutorials. So maybe if you're looking for more advanced formulas or functions within Excel, or we address kind of current topics. Obviously, when Windows XP was disappearing, then there were a lot of questions about how to handle that transition. That's a great place. We're able to be very timely on our blog, and so that's a great place to check into to find out what the newest kind of tech trends are. We are active, okay. And Twitter and Facebook, yes. We are very, we actually literally just today had, we finally reached 20,000 fans on Facebook, and so we're very happy. We're very excited. Our Facebook community is very loyal and just so positive. We love getting that feedback from our users about how GCF Learn Free is helping them in their life. They'll post photos of themselves holding their certificate of completion, and that's just so great. We really enjoy hearing all of that feedback. It's really one of the few ways we do get feedback because, as I mentioned earlier, we don't actually require account creation. People really can just come to GCF Learn Free, learn, and then leave, and we never know how it impacted them. We never know at all what kind of difference that made in their life, and so it's so great to get that positive feedback and get those great testimonials.
We have a question from Rossi Trejo about adding the website link to our homepage, if there's any charge for it. There's definitely no charge, but what we ask for is to fill out a request form that just kind of allows us to know what it's being used for, and so we can keep that for our record. So that's, I don't know if we could send a link or if
just again add my email address. I'll make sure you get that link to the application process, and it's, like I said, it's very quick application, won't take any time. Thank you, Rossi. And we're also on Twitter. That's often where we're talking with people like you, librarians, our colleagues, our other service providers, and finding out how they're using GCF Learn Free with the people they serve. And so that's a great place to connect with librarians, educators, other nonprofits. That's great. YouTube, we're obviously on YouTube because that's where all of our video tutorials are. So if at any point you want to just look at video tutorials, you can certainly just go to the playlist and just view all of the video tutorials that are associated with that, that tutorial. We're on Google+. Nobody else is, but we're there. That's always our joke. But we're there, and this has been an interesting experiment in trying to connect with this particular community. We're on LinkedIn as well. We're on Pinterest. Pinterest is huge. People love sharing education ideas on Pinterest, and we really enjoyed our experience on Pinterest. We have a sister site called GCF Aprende Libre. This is for those people that are native Spanish speakers. But if that's, I don't know your population. Well, I know we have people outside of Washington with us today. Texas, I saw, so I'm sure Texas, this is relevant for you guys. To be able to direct them. This is not a direct translation of the content that we provide, but it is, it's because it's created by our sister team in Colombia, but you'll probably find a lot of the same or similar courses that you'll find at GCF Learn Free. So this is something if you do have a Spanish-speaking population.
Real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. Before we talk about how we're used in libraries, Virginia had a point about it would be nice to have the option to create a login so patrons can keep track of classes they take and can come back to the tutorial if they have to close it. And while Jessica mentioned earlier, the only requirement for creating an account would be if you were going to join or take an online class. You can track where you've been in the tutorials if you do create an account and just stay within those tutorials. There'll be a little check mark on those tiles that Jessica showed on one of the earlier slides that will kind of let you know what you've gone through and where you are and how well you scored on the quizzes. We've got quizzes at the end of some lessons. So it'll let you know in that way what you've gone through, what you've read through, which quizzes you've taken, and how well you scored on them. Hopefully that answers your question, Virginia.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. No, you didn't miss it. I didn't make that clear. I was just emphasizing so much that you don't have to create an account. I never made it clear that you can create an account. You can track all of your progress. You can see the quizzes. You can see which ones you've done. So my apologies, but thank you very much for helping me make sure that I clarified that. Thank you, Virginia. Danielle is sharing that right now, the web address to the Spanish version. Thank you, Irene. GCF Aprende Libre. Well, we're getting really short on time. It's only because you guys have been asking such great questions, and I want you to keep asking them. I want to make sure that you have all of your questions answered today. Really quickly, we just have a few really quick samples of ideas, way different libraries have used GCF Learn Free, and really the options are as varied as you choose to do it. We have things like in Phoenix where they had been offering traditional computer classes. Budget cuts made it so that they could not offer those traditional computer classes with an instructor, and they were still able to provide that educational experience to their patrons by having just the GCF Learn Free curriculum kind of replacing it, directing people to at least do the self-paced tutorials. It wasn't the same, obviously, as a traditional computer class, the thing that they had been able to offer for many years, but it at least still meant that their patrons were still getting their questions answered in a similar way. At Sequoia Regional Library in Georgia, Lisa actually uses GCF Learn Free to help teach computer classes to her users. So she is still offering those traditional computer classes, but we are her curriculum. We talk to librarians all the time that you went through library school, but at no point did anybody ever tell you how to create curriculum. That wasn't part of library school. And now you don't. You don't have to. You can use our curriculum in your classroom. That allowed her to offer even more classes because it freed her up from having to create the curriculum, and she was able to grow her computer lab program. In a similar way at West Florida Public Library, Sean just uses the existing, or uses our curriculum to complement his curriculum. He had already kind of created a curriculum, but our curriculum kind of fills in some gaps, some holes, some additional things that he wanted to offer in his classroom program. At San Antonio Public Library, Rhonda uses GCF Learn Free to help in career workshops. So again, you all talked about how you were getting those type questions from your patrons. So she has career workshops, and the GCF Learn Free content is her curriculum for that program. At the Jenny Trent Dew Library in Texas, Deb uses it for one-on-one help for patrons. So again, we kind of referenced that earlier. You have patrons that are coming in and asking questions, and next thing you know, you're sitting down next to them, walking them through step-by-step creating an email account. Now, hopefully, you could use GCF Learn Free, set it up for them, get them started, and walk away, just, you know, check in on them and everything. But now it's a self-paced tutorial. It's something that they can kind of self-direct it and look through, get their answers to their questions. So that frees you up to be able to help other patrons to do other work. At the International Academy of Design and Technology in Nevada, Sam uses GCF Learn Free in a workshop he offers through the library for non-traditional students. They need to fill that gap between high school and college. We see that all the time. We have people that maybe are returning to school or have never been to college. Maybe it's been a number of years since they left high school, and they just kind of need to get back, kind of, you know, fill in that gap and kind of, or maybe they've kind of not been around technology, but now they're in a college class, and now they're going to have to learn how to use Microsoft Office and use all of this technology that maybe they hadn't had to use in their previous job. And then at Barrington Public Library in New Hampshire, David just promotes GCF Learn Free as a resource to users with postcards, with flyers, with putting a link on his website. And so we certainly appreciate that use and anything that you feel is relevant, just getting that information out to your patrons. Even though the content is created for adults, as I mentioned several times, you're able to use them with school-age students, with homeschoolers. We have the special needs students that certainly use our Everyday Life program, ESL students that use the Everyday Life program, our reading program. So there are a lot of different populations that you could use other than maybe what you just a lot of people just automatically think older patrons. But they're everyone on all kinds of different ages, all kinds of different backgrounds that can use lots of different content at GCF Learn Free. We have curriculum guides that can help you. If you do want to use the curriculum in a program, then we have guides and educator resources that can help you. And so feel free to visit that part of the site, look at what we offer, and hopefully that'll be something that can be relevant and useful to you as a service provider. All right, what final questions do we have? I've got Virginia that uses for one-on-ones, and the patrons are thrilled. That's so great. Thank you. Thank you, Virginia.
I see that Rosie's typing, so we will see what, it always takes a while sometimes for things to come over the emails. We know, we're so used to instantaneous, we forget that sometimes it takes a bit of time to transfer thousands of miles. So we'll see what Rosie has to say, and Irene is typing as well. And she says, good. She says she loves the tutorials and it helps her with her computer classes, and Irene really appreciates it. So I think many of us feel that way, and we really appreciate what you've done. Jeremy will be putting this up. I can see we have her contact information, and this will go up this afternoon. So if you want to refer another customer to it, or you want to go back and have another staff listen to this, it will be up soon. Usually Jeremy has it up by noon our time on the West Coast here. Any other questions for Jessica?
And if you don't want to ask today, or even if you think about questions later on today, you have my email address. Please feel free to contact me anytime. If there's something that we can help you with months from now, please let us know. We're here to help. We want to make sure that we can do whatever we can to help support librarians and what it is that you guys do.
Well, we very much appreciate your taking time out of your schedule to do this program for us, and I know lots of us will use it, and not just here in Washington State, but all throughout the nation. So thanks. Let's see, I see Rosie is typing. So I think we are, unless there are additional questions, we will say thank you very much, and watch our listserv for additional webinars of interest to librarians. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Jeremy.
Sure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for coming. I do want to note, I'm going to turn off the recording because this is important here.